Guess the guy felt that, middle income people have one dishwasher, so he had to have two. What the hell, right? There's 17 flat screens in this house.
17.
Plus the theater. I mean, it's a little ridiculous.
You know what? Let's start there. Tell me about this house a little bit.
The house is pretty ridiculous. It's a little over 10,000 square feet. Pretty sick pool and hot tub. 17 flat screens plus the theater. And, in a slice of a little bit of overindulgence, we have 2 dishwashers in the main kitchen, not just one. I guess one wasn't enough.
So,
I can't say the other part.
what's the other part?
When I said, middle income people have one dishwasher, so we must have 2.
Why can't you say that? That's fun.
We can never say that. He has to monitor my blogging and my Twittering.
All right. So, what's the idea behind a poker house?
It's really elaborately simple. A poker house really is just to get all of your poker players in one place. Poker players are usually referenced as horses. And, keep an eye on them, have the camaraderie, be able to allow them to talk about hands and their bad beats and what happened throughout the day. And plus, it's the fun. I mean, it's that rush of, prop betting on everything from throwing golf balls closest to the pin to who can make their gum wrapper in the garbage can or whatever. So it's really just about the fun, the camaraderie, and keeping an eye on them because it is a business. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all here to make money.
And how are you making money off of these? I mean, you have referenced before, like, you see someone and you think, like, I want to bring them in?
Well, we're really different in the fact that we try to keep it very tight-knit in players that we know. Prior to this World Series, we probably had 100 people reach out to me on Facebook or Twitter or, some of my other guys like Dan that run it for me, trying to find backing. And for us, it's just about picking guys that we know and trust because at the end of the day, trust is very important in this. But it's also finding guys that are hungry. There's a lot of the bigger name players or established players, they're just not going to play every tournament like it's their last. And, when you find hungry players, they're going to play every hand like it's their last hand because it's the difference between eating or being homeless, So for them, it's important to make sure that they play hard.
Well, because, if you're winning, look where you're staying.
That's right. Yeah, there's always the fear in their minds that if they go on too much of an extended losing spree, they're going to have to go back to wherever they came from. So they definitely want to be winning. And it's a very dynamic part of the business as well because, it's all about timing. At the end of the day, poker is skill, but it's still timing because you can have the best player in the house lose for months straight, and the worst player in the house could win his first tournament. So it's really still in the essence of gambling, even though there's a lot of skill and business behind it.
How do you pick a horse?
Well, prior to the online poker being banned in the United States, we had access to endless databases and tracking devices, services to be able to tell who's profitable, who's not, where they should play, what levels. And so with that, it's pretty easy to pick and know what you're looking at because with online poker, you can't really lie. With live stats, people can manipulate the truth because there's not as much live tracking as there is online tracking. So for us, it's pretty simple.
What are you looking at, though? Like, someone comes to you and he says he's got great stats. Like, are there other factors that you're taking?
I mean, you're always looking at stats, but you're looking at the person. You want to make sure that you find the right person, the right type of person. Are they more of a gambler or are they more of a linear player? Is it somebody that has both the skill from a linear perspective or a mathematical perspective or just the gambling perspective? So there's a lot that goes into it, but it really gets back to the person. I don't do anything in business that I do without people that I like. If I don't like somebody, I'm not going to do business with them regardless. So for me, it's really about liking the person. And so we're very selective on who we bring on board. Now, obviously, we take shots here and there with new players or a hot player. There's actually a player here right now at the World Series of Poker that we turned down the week before the World Series of Poker, and he has three final tables. So we made a bad choice. But we just felt that his type of play was very high variance was a very high variance type of play, and so we decided to shy away from him, and in fact, we made a mistake, but that's okay. It happens.
But you also scored a good horse, right? Like right at the...
Yes, we have several good horses, one of them being Tristan Wade, and he had $100,000 cash this week, which was nice. And we had a great week this week. We had over $150,000 in cashes in profit this week, and we're only halfway through the World Series, so we're in really good shape.
Is it hard to let him go, or is it just business? How does that go down? How does that go down? Paint that picture.
It's always hard to fire people. I mean, and you're essentially firing people even though it's not a traditional line of work. But it's certainly always hard because you become friends with these people. You have dinner with them, you have drinks with them, you hang out with them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's still a business. We have to make money. And, you know, even though there is an essence of gambling, we still have to make shrewd business decisions. Otherwise, we won't be profitable. And at the end of the day, it's profit.
And from their point of view, they're coming from Toledo, Ohio.
Or wherever.
They're living in a ridiculous home in Las Vegas and getting to play poker.
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that, but that's also part of what we do different. A lot of backers that are out there will put guys up in a $29 a night hotel. They don't buy them meals. They don't do, like we do what's called a mini settle up, to where we settle up when a player cashes, so they always have money, whereas most poker stakers do not do that. So we try to give the players the right tools and the right frame of mind to be able to be more successful. And it's a lot easier, I would think, to run good in poker and be able to be focused when you're living in a multi-million-dollar home. You're making sure that you eat good meals and you have all the right services and the right kind of structure and backbone behind you. So if they don't play well and run good in this environment, they're not going to play well and run good. So we try to make it a little easier on them, and hopefully that pays off in the end.
And how do the finances work again? Like you were saying, like if they're losing, that sort of amount of money adds up, and then if they win, that gets subtracted.
Sure. I mean, you could kind of equate it to being a used car salesman, where you get upfront money every week or every month, and you owe it back when you sell a car. It's really, it gets down to makeup. And that's the term in poker, whereas if a person is in the negative and they're losing, that's considered makeup. So if a player were to lose $50,000 over the course of time, but then they cash for $60,000, they would owe us the $50,000 back and then get their percentage only off of the $10,000. So they always, you know, usually tournament players are almost always in makeup unless they have several big scores. But it's really just about the opportunity that you can spend $1,000 and make $1 million. You know, the other day with the $100,000 cash that we had, it was a $1,500 buy-in tournament that we turned into $100,000. And first place was $760,000, and had a couple weird things not happen on that given moment. In variance, we would have probably made a minimum of $400,000. So it would have been a pretty substantial ROI on my investment. So, you know, there's definitely, you know, the pros and the cons of it, but if you handle it well and handle it as a business, you can certainly come out ahead.
Who are these guys?
People from all over the world. The players that we have are from every walk of life and from all over the world, from Ohio to Maryland to Florida to New York, and places I don't even know, since I don't really know where they're all from.
Do they all have like the same quality? Are they geeks? Are they, you know, sharks? Like what, or is it all different?
What are poker players? I guess as a whole, poker players are kind of a mixed bag of everything. People are really misled by poker players because they think of the hometown poker player that's kind of the gambler, you know, and most poker players really aren't that. You know, a lot of the poker players and a high percentage of poker players are mathematically and game theory type people that are gifted in those areas. And so they have the gamble aspect of their life and their kind of repertoire, but they're also mathematically based and have a background in game theory. You'll see a lot of poker players that came from prominent colleges and have degrees. And so it's really a lot different than the average person thinks. And that's why younger players are taking over the gambling world, because it used to be that players were just gamblers. Now it's a lot more in depth as far as the skill set of these players. So it's quite different than people on the outside of the poker industry really think it is.
Someone we were talking to today said that, actually Grindr said poker's changed a lot because you have a much more educated group of people who are coming in now. Like they're reading books, they've played online, they've a lot more practice.
Well, there's definitely a lot more tools for the poker player that's out there now, but I think overall the education level of the poker player is infinitely higher than it was 10 years ago. And so obviously with anything in life, the smarter the person is in the beginning, the more advanced their skill set's going to be as they learn.
All right.
Let me get a drink real quick. I'm thirsty.
Need the money, like you're a self-made man, made a boatload. Why,
Okay.
What's this for you? What is this?
Oh, why do I do it? The fun, the chase. I think Donald Trump once said his famous line, "It's not about the money, it's about the kill." I think that's everything in business. It's about new challenges because I myself am a player. And you know, my intent and goal is to win a bracelet as well, like everybody else that plays poker. And it's really just about the chase and the challenge. Think of the dynamic that we had just the other night. We get home from work, come home, have a nice dinner, and we have one of our players at the final table of a huge event where there's almost $800,000 at stake. So we're all hovered around that final table, waiting on every card and every moment to think of the difference between we just invested $1,500 and we could walk out with $850,000 that night just in a 2-day period. So I don't know what the rate of return is on $1,500 to $800,000, but it's pretty substantial. But it's also the drama and the intrigue and also the stress, because it was really kind of funny. We talked about how upset we were, and you could hear a pin drop in the car the whole ride home when he got 7th rather than 1st. But then the next day, Dan sent me a picture from the cage when they went and collected the $100,000, and it felt a little better, you know, because we did turn $1,500 into $100,000 overnight, but it just wasn't the same of getting $800,000. So it certainly is the intrigue and the kill and the opportunity that at any given moment, one of the players or myself could take $1,000 investment and turn it into $1 million.
And then just really quick, because you're reminding me, you don't have to say his name, but what do you have to do now with a different player, like you said, coming up? If they're not doing their thing.
If they're not doing their thing, well, I mean, it's still a business. And so people get cut all the time, and you know, we joke about it, but if they get cut and they lose their house privileges, then they got to go back to where they came from. And it really gets down to performance. At the end of the day, you know, it's not friend business and it's not show business, it's business, and we have to make money.
And you actually have some, it's coming up. You've got one coming up.
A player coming up that's getting cut. Actually, we do. Let's not talk about whose name that is, but we have someone that will be being removed from our team and household pretty soon here.
Unless you want to talk about the dynamics within the poker house, what are these players? How are they going to interact within the house? I mean, if somebody's got a crazy nightlife, they don't get along, there's going to be conflict in the house. I don't know if you want to go with that or if that wants to be in the treatment.
You know what? I think that's going to be in the treatment,
Okay.
because
If we don't need it.
You get the set. Like,
Yeah.
like,